It's funny how sometimes some people like to sell some boat designs as a boat without compromise. In my humble opinion, there is no such thing as a boat design that there is no compromise. If you want this, you cannot have that. If you want that, you cannot have that. And that's life. You need to make your choice when you design a boat. And of course, our boat is not different from that. We have a lot of compromise that we need to decide which way we want to go. And the biggest one in this boat, to be honest, is the height of the freeboard. I think I'm going to do something crazy. I'm thinking about cutting a lot of this tow rail off. That's the one thing that, to be honest, I don't really love about our boat, but it's necessary. It's necessary because we love our deck saloon. It's necessary because we want a deck saloon with a flush deck. And in order to have a flush deck, a deck saloon, and head high on the bottom, you need to have a high freeboard. There's no other option. I mean, even with a high freeboard, there are good and bad things about it. One good thing is that you're a lot less wet. But in the other hand, you have a lot more drag when you're maneuvering in the marina because you have a lot more windage. And for me, that's not a good thing. Our old boat was the opposite. We had a really, really low freeboard that I like, but I also dislike because it was wet all the time. So on this boat, we decided to compromise and to have a high freeboard. But now we have a chance to at least lower it a little bit. Because there's one more thing that I really don't like on the design. I don't know if you see, but we have a really high tow rail. So there are two main reasons I don't really like this high tow rail. The first one is that it's fragile. If you touch a dock, it can bend pretty easy, and that doesn't make sense to me. And reason number two is because it just makes the freeboard even higher than already is, and I think we should lower as much as possible. So the first idea that came to my mind to fix the problem of having a strong tow rail was to create a double plate tow rail. That means like a box. Basically you get a plate with the same height as the tow rail, you weld it parallel to the tow rail with a certain distance, and then you get a plate with that distance and you weld to the top. Of course, I'm just trying to illustrate here, but it would look like a little box. It would be vertical, horizontal, and vertical, everything welded together and grinded, and it would look beautiful. A lot of boats are built like that. The only problem on that is that it would be a lot of work. To be honest, we even bought the material for this project, but I think we're gonna change our minds for a few reasons. Reason number one is drainage hose. In order to have this drainage hose, it's gonna be hours and hours and hours of welding and finishing because this needs to be on both sides of the double tow rail and needs to be sealed from the inside part of the tow rail. Otherwise, when water leaks inside, we won't see it. It's gonna be a huge problem. Problem number two is because I want to have the option of having blocks attached to the tow rail. And if I have a double tow rail, I need to know exactly where each block is gonna be. Right now, that I cannot do it, because you need to reinforce, and also because you need to do it in a way that the boat doesn't go through, because it's going to be a really high tow rail, and if the boat goes through, it means there is a possibility of leak of water inside the tow rail, and that can also become a nightmare. So we decided this project's way too complicated. We're going to use the plates we have for something else, and we're going to do something much more simple that solves all the problems, because this one, the double plate, would solve the problem of the strength, but would not solve the problem of the height of the freeboard. We're not going to lower anything on the freeboard. So I decided to something much, much simpler. That is to cut the tow rail. That's so much simpler. You just cut the tow rail and it's lower, and that's it, kind of. So the idea is to cut the tow rail on the height of the drainage hole. We're going to weld a pipe on the top. So the idea is to weld a 30 millimeters with 5 millimeters wall pipe to the top of the tow rail. So it's gonna look something like this, but a lot lower, and this is gonna give a lot of strength to the tow rail, and also that means that here on the drainage hole it's gonna be possible to attach Dyneema loops to attach things to the tow rail, because we have a drainage hole every 1 meter on the tow rail, and that means it's good enough to have attachment points everywhere, and I think that's really good. I do believe it's gonna be better, to be honest, and I want to take the chance. So this is the size of the commitment, is to cut this much of the side of the boat off. It's gonna change somehow the look of the boat. I do like that because the freeboard is gonna be lower, but there is one little thing that I don't like, that is this side plate high, it hides a little bit the roof, and that means the roof doesn't look too high, and that's probably the reason why it even exists, is just for the roof to look a little bit lower. But it's still, I mean, it's not all about look, it's about functionality, and I think being lower freeboard is always better instead of a really high freeboard. And as you can tell, this freeboard is massive. That's like 1.6 meter high. It used to be like 1.75, the original design. We already shrink as much as we could. Now I need to mark the entire boat. Once I start this project, there is no way back. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and eventually I need to start. Otherwise I just keep thinking and thinking and I don't start. I'm gonna do it. Wish me luck. So far so good, I cut this much. The only thing I'm afraid is the plate moving once I cut the top. I don't think it will, but you never know. There's always a small possibility. Let's do this. If you ever want to do this, the trick is you need to keep lubricating the blade to get it cool, because when you cut aluminum, it just gets clogged so easily. If you don't lubricate and you put some oil, it just clogs straight away and you lose the blade. And if you keep lubricating, you can use for a long time. Going the wrong way. Yeah, I guess there is no way back now. I just cut the side of the boat. I need to cut the rest. Let's get to work. That's it. To be honest, I think it looks really good. It feels natural. Let's go up to see. Give me a second. I need to cut the little last piece and then the entire other side. And the funny thing is, it doesn't take long because it's hard. It takes long because the blade heats up and the machine heats up. But if I do it with the angle grinder, it's a lot of dust. And it hits much more the aluminum and it tends to warp more. So the jigsaw with the oil is the best way for me because it doesn't heat up the aluminum and it's safer, but it's slow. You cut slowly, one step at a time, baby steps. We'll get there. So while I wait for the jigsaw to cool down, I just put a pipe temporarily in place to have the first feeling of how the boat is gonna look like, and that's the result. I really like it actually. The tricky part, of course, is gonna be the ends. It's really steep, so we need to slow down that curve and cut a little bit smooth so it's easier to bend the pipe, but we can do that. And also, of course, the end is gonna be really tricky, but it is what it is. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Let's go up and check how it's in the deck. So let's do a comparison. This is the old one, and this is the new one. I just love it. I think it's meant to be this way. So now let's go inside, because that's a really important test that I need to do, is the visibility test, because I didn't see yet how is the visibility from inside. Just by standing here, I prefer the new one already. I don't know if the camera is gonna get it right, but you can see a lot of the tow rail showing up. Here you see literally just the little top of the tow rail, and that means you have all the visibility you can have from the windows that are gonna be here. That's awesome. I think it's good. I love it. That was a lot of work, but now all the tow rails are cut to the right height. There is one more thing I want to do, that is to grind these drainage hose. I don't know if you can tell, but this is just raw welded, and we want to have a pretty finishing, of course. And if I leave that for later, when I grind, I might find mistakes on the weld that we need to fix, and then we need to weld again something that's ready. So it's easier to do it now. So basically it's just grinding this, sanding and finding mistakes, filling up the mistakes, grinding again, sanding again until it's perfect, and then we can finally grind the top of the plate to get the right chamfer, and we can put the pipe on the top and weld the pipe. Whew, that's pretty cool. It's funny how the deck actually looks bigger now that the tow rail is a little bit lower. It seems like it opened the deck. I love it. It's so cool when you run into a problem and you find a solution that's really, really simple. So we are gonna start welding the pipe on the top of the tow rail, but when it comes to these points, we need to cut an angle on the pipe, otherwise we need to bend too much. And we thought we were gonna do that with the bandsaw, but the bandsaw only does 90 degrees or 45 degrees, and we needed 20 degrees. That's a lot more than 45. So I create a really simple jig. You just put the pipe on this little groove, and then you use this fence to run the jigsaw on the right angle. Hopefully it works. So this groove is exactly the dimension of the pipe, and this is 20 degrees. Let's try out. So now with this we can just chamfer. We don't need to do any bending on the end of the pipe, and that's really good. So we got really close to be able to bend. You can see the bend, because the problem is that we need to bend this way and this way at the same time. So we have a bend that is composed of two different angles. We got really close, but we are not managing to get this one close, right? I don't know if you can see right here. We are gonna try to just cut right after the curve, because from there on is good. So then we can just create one cut and then we just connect. And I think it's going to be easier to make the round beginnings. But so far, I think it looks pretty good actually. And also it's going to be really good for the lines to rub around here. If you touch the line, it's going to be really round. That's pretty good. So now this top pipe is welded halfway. Peter is gonna cut because it's gonna be easier to finish this by starting in the beginning and not on the center. So we're gonna weld another pipe from here and make our way to the center. That's so cool. It actually looks really good. This is a project that I was a little bit scared. I'm like, I need to, I don't know, trust and just go forward because I need to make a decision, but I had no idea how the boat would look like with the new tow rail. And now that the entire tow rail is stacked in place, it looks awesome. And now I feel like, oof, that was a good decision. The truth is I wanted to film more, but it's really hard to film when Peter needs my help. This process needed 2 people in order to do it properly. By the way, sorry for the noise, Peter is grinding right now. Just a quick explanation so you understand the process. We started by bending the curves in the beginning and in the end of each pipe. And the reason for that is because that first bend is really complicated because it's not in one direction like the rest of the pipe. It's in 2 directions, and it's really hard to do that when you don't have a bending machine. So the way we did was we first cut an angle on the beginning of the pipe, we tack weld to the deck, then we bend a little bit to the inside of the boat, and then a little bit down, a little bit to the inside, a little bit down, we tack weld again. By the time you get to the top of the curve, we could not manage to do the last little curve. So we always needed to cut the pipe there, and then do the other side, and then create a long pipe to connect both ends. And right now, what Peter is doing is fully welding the pipe to the tow rail itself. The shape is done. He just needs to be careful not to heat up too much so it doesn't bend. But other than that, we're good to go. Now I can film because now he's gonna do by himself. He don't need my help now. Awesome. That's a win. Finally, we have a win. It's so good when you have an idea and you work hard towards the goal and everything fits in position. It feels like it's natural. It was meant to be that way. This project of the tow rail, it's something that was a risk. We took the chance of changing the shape and the look of the boat, and it paid off really well. I love the result. But of course there is still a lot of grinding involved on this project, but at least the canvas is ready. This feels like almost like a ready deck. Of course we still need to do also reinforcements for blocks and for winches, but for now it's done because the priority right now is to finish all the structure, all the welds of the aluminum, and then in the future when we do the finishing of the sides we can grind. For now, Peter, check one more project. Thanks so much. Really appreciate. We see you on the next one with a huge problem. This one was a good episode. Next one, not so good. We see you in the next one.